Okay, hey there guys, this is Rob, and this is just going to be a short-ish tutorial, videos thingy, that goes over my startup procedures in the A10, because I've got some guys flying with me and the like now, and sometimes I'm having to, well, go over the same procedures again and again, so I figured, rather than go over them again and again, I could make a video or a stream and the like and show them what I'm doing, and that way they've got a permanent reference rather than having to poke me or the like. So in a minute we'll get around to doing that. Now, one of the big things I'm going to state right off the bat here is this is not going to be the normal official startup list, so to speak. Things are turned off here, and I apologise for the loud volume. So there we go, we finally got in. But we are cold and dark, and this will get you from cold and dark to fully ready to fly straight off the bat, and that's what we're after. So first things first, if you're sitting like this and you actually want weapons, your best bet is to give yourself some battery power, turn the switch over here to interphone, push your radio switch forwards, go to the ground crew, tell them you want to rearm and refuel. Now, yes, I'm getting a little bit of lag. My computer's not been rebooted in rather a few days, and I've had a lot open. And it's probably not the best streaming profile, but I'm kinda in a don't care mood. I'm actually not going for any weapons on this one, but you could. I just want to change my skin.
Request rearming.
Because it's rather blowing a gale.
Copy.
I want to fly a little bit. I want to see how well it flies. But as you can see at the moment, we're sitting in the A10, and everywhere we look, everything's cold except for the power, which we've just turned on. If we're going to sit here for too long, like if we're going to do our own CDU mission setup or the like, we want to do the same thing, ground crew, and request the ground power, because we do not want to let this bird get too, the battery get too low. We won't be able to start it if the battery gets too low. But
Rearming complete.
we're not planning on sitting here for that long. So, first things first, we've got the battery on, we want the inverter on. It's one of the biggest things people forget, and especially those that I've been flying with, and they'll be the engine's not starting, and normally it's this little switch here. Without the inverter, you start the igniters in the engines, they can't start. We're going to switch our fuel pumps here into the on position, and then we're going to start this APU. Now, I'm not going to be clicking on all of these. I've got a Warthog HOTAS. I like using it. It's got the switches for me, but I will highlight the switches if I can. The next one we're going to do is behind here is two switches that we can't exactly see. They're easy for me on the HOTAS, but you can't easily see them because of the throttle. We're going to switch them into the up and normal position. So the arm and normal position there. Your radar altimeter and your EAC switch. We may have to cycle the EAC switch later. Just depends. Now, our APU's lighting off, which is this set just here. And we've had a good light off of the APU. We can tell that because it's come back down. APU generator power. We don't have a master caution, which is good. And we're going to switch these three switches these two up, this one into the middle. Just start our engage pre-flight bit test up here. We're going to go OK. And then over here, these two into the up position, which will start the CDU in a moment, starting. And our screens into the day position, because it's daylight. So we can see the CDU starting here, and the screen's starting. Why do we want to do this so quickly and so early? Because this is going to be doing our navigation alignment while we're doing everything else. So we want this on. Now at this point we do not have permission to start the airframe. We're given it power and we're allowed to start the APU and the like, but we've not actually asked permission to start the airframe. So next thing we want to do, we want to turn our radios on. We want to turn this switch, which we turned to interphone before, back to VHF. We want to turn our SAS switches on while we're thinking of it. Our anti-skid on. And we're going to tune the radio. We're at Nellis, so the easiest one to do here is 3, 2, 7. And if we needed to check that, Shift K brings up the kneeboard, and then the square brackets next door to the backslash allows us to cycle through, and if we cycle back through far enough we get Nellis here. And we can check the frequencies. So Nellis Tower 327 or 132.55. While we're also doing this, we're going to quickly set up our TACCAM, which is channel 12 X-ray. So we're just going to go 1. We're going to go 1, 2. Channel 12 X-ray. So this has gone into its alignment phase. We can tell it to load all. This completed its bit test. We can hit OK, and we're just going to leave that for a moment. We're going to uncage our standby ADI if it wants to. There we go. And we're going to contact Nellis. And we're going to request a startup.
1, 2, request startup. 1, 2, cleared for startup. Wind 224 at 16 meters per second.
So we've been cleared for startup. They're telling us that the winds are basically something shocking. Left engine from the idle position into the idle D10. At this point you're going to notice, so long as you've got this switch on, that your engine spools up. Once it hits about 20% RPM, core RPM, it starts igniting. Hydraulics start kicking in, so the stick comes forwards. If your flaps position was down or the like, they'd drop. We're just watching these gauges now, making certain this doesn't skyrocket for some reason. Typically, under most, it won't, but you want to keep an eye on it, just in case. And we're waiting for this one here to hit core RPM. And it just has, so we've had a good glide off. And if we look over our shoulder here, when my computer decides to stop being a pain in the neck with the track IR, we can see a good start. So at this point, left generator on, we've got a master caution warning. We tap it. The caution is, if we could actually see this properly because the sun's shining straight on it, that we have the APU on and a engine generator. You do not want both on. So we killed that. We've got one good engine. We're going to make certain our collision lights are on. We should have actually done that a step before just to let everybody know we're starting the airframe. We're going to switch our temperature gauge and normal and pressure gauge to normal. And we're going to pull the cabin down, but we're not going to actually close it yet. We want to do a check of our oxygen. It's all good. Going to turn it on, make certain emergencies working, which it is. and finally we close. The reason we do that is you don't want this system not to be working and this on and this closed. You can just kill yourself. With that closed, we can arm the seat, start the next engine startup, and the TAD's finished loading, so we can double check that it's loaded, which it has. Put this on the CDU. We can see it's flashing nav, INS nav ready. So it's telling us that the navigation system is ready. And it's ready because we're at 4.0 and 0.8. So we tap nav, we come behind here, and we tap the EG button. Now, the final thing we have to do to get the navigation system properly aligned is, just in case back here, we want to move this dial around to match our latitude. So, our latitude here is 36 degrees, which is about there. So, 36 degrees there. Our engine's starting up here. It's good startup. Turn it on. And we've already got written everything on our master caution warning panel. We can basically do any small minor little bits that we want to do on the upfront control panel here, which was not another bit test, so we're just going to
pull up. Altitude, altitude.
cycle that back up to normal. We can put our flaps down into that position. We're going to turn our taxi light on, adjust our seat if need be, which, you know, maybe you want it up, or given it's a takeoff, maybe you want it down so you can see this a little bit better. I'm going to enter any IFF codes we need. And we're going to do one final cabin check, so just to make certain everything's correct. Our interphones are where we want them, our radios are set. We're going to double check, come across, we're uncaged, we have no warnings. Our flaps are set, 3 green. Back down, no warnings. We don't have our systems on. This isn't a combat system one though. If you wanted to, you just go to standby or to normal here, and we'll get our alleys working as seen there. We're going to turn the volume down on that, and we're going to turn our TACCAN into transmit and receive. Double check that we're actually getting a good TACCAN signal, which we are. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to find my TACCAN and I'm going to pop the damn switch because I don't want to hear it. So at this point we're almost ready for takeoff. Pinky button on your joystick, notice while steering's engaged. ATC, now let's request taxi.
1-2, request taxi to runway.
Now, depending on your server and the like, you may not always need to do that. This farm we tend not to, because he doesn't always talk to you.
Taxi to runway 3.
And he's got something about runway 3, even when the winds aren't necessarily best favourable for runway 3 though. At the moment they're definitely favourable for runway 3. Now the other thing we want to quickly do, we can do this while we're taxiing, other than our brake check, which is working fine. Tap out trim, make certain that it's green, take it off. watch something pop up over my screen. Like I said, my computer hasn't had a reboot for a little bit. I'm going to turn in and on. And on entering the runway, cadet heat to the on position. Again, like I said, the little bits of stutter are because my machine hasn't had a reboot for a very long time. It's not normally like this, as previous streams have shown.
Hog 1-2, request takeoff.
Now, CDU to the positions we want.
Hog 1-2, you are cleared for takeoff when ready. Climb 300 at QFE 26.9.
So this is QFE. We want actually our proper altitude, which we can get off these charts normally by looking for the altitude at the runway. But the other way, if you don't want to use the chart, so here's the elevation. So this actually needs to read this. You could always just hit F10 and go into that map, grab it from there if you needed to.